yang telah mendahului kita. Al-Fatihah. I invite Brother Shahrul Hizam bin Izhar of Centris IIUM to recite a short dua. Welcome, Ustaz.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وله الحمد في الآخرة وهو الحكيم الخبير. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أنت ربنا لا إله إلا أنت خلقتنا ونحن عبادك ونحن على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعنا نعوذ بك من شر ما صنعنا نبوء لك بنعمتك علينا ونبوء بذنوبنا فاغفر لنا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولوالدينا وارحمهما كما ربونا صغارا والجميع المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم ارزقنا علما نافعا وانفعنا بما علمتنا. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم اجعل خير أعمالنا آخره وخير أعمالنا خواتمه وخير أيامنا يوم ألقاك فيه. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. تقبل الله منا ومنكم.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Indeed, the passing of Professor Kamal Hassan has been a great loss to the Muslim world and to the IIUM. Many of us are still grappling with the fact that he is no longer physically around for us to drop by for a consultation and be received by his warm welcome right here in this library of his. On the prompt by Dato' Hamidun, the director of Centris, the Office for Integration, Islamization and Relevantization OFIR organizes a series of sharing sessions as a tribute to one of the most significant founding fathers and philosophical pioneers of the IIUM. Pemergian Al-Marhum merupakan suatu kehilangan besar bagi IIUM dan dunia Islam. Ramai di antara kita yang masih terkesan dengan ketiadaan beliau sebagai tempat merujuk, lalu menerima sambutan mesra daripada beliau. Dengan kesaan dari Prof. Datuk Hamidun, pengarah Centris, kami mengatur beberapa siri sesi perkongsian sebagai tanda penghormatan kami kepada seorang bapa pengasas dan perintis falsafah UIAM yang paling penting. Pemimpin datang dan mereka pergi, tetapi Prof. Kamal meninggalkan sebuah warisan yang tidak boleh disisihkan kerana dari beliau adalah wawasan reformasi umat yang menyeluruh berasaskan pandangan semesta Al-Quran dan Sunnah yang membawa umat kembali ke landasan tauhid di dalam akidah, syariah dan akhlak, di dalam diri, di dalam pendidikan dan juga di dalam amalan kita, malah dalam semua aspek profesionalisme kita sebagai hamba Allah dan khalifah Allah di muka bumi, dengan bersandarkan kesucian hati rohani lalu membawa kita kepada masa depan Islam dan umat. Leaders come and they go. However, Professor Kamal left us with a legacy that cannot be forgone, for his is a visionary message of holistic and comprehensive ummatic reformation grounded in the worldview of the Quran and Sunnah, bringing the ummah back on the trajectory of Tawheed in Aqidah, in Sharia, and in Akhlaq, in the self, in education, in our practices, in fact, in all aspects of our professionalism and vocation as Ibadur Rahman and Khulafa Allah on earth, anchored on the purity of the spiritual heart, the qalb, bringing us to the future of Islam and that of the Ummah. In fact, his message is a continuation of the legacies of earlier Islamic figures, tracing back to earlier contemporary figures such as Maududi, Said Qutb, Hamka, Yusuf Qaradawi, and the rest, to the classical scholars of Islam like Al-Ghazali, up to the Risalah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Risalah Al-Marhum adalah kesinambungan daripada peninggalan tokoh-tokoh Islam terdahulu seperti Maududi, Said Qutb, Hamka, Yusuf Al-Qaradawi dan lain-lainnya, lalu menelusuri kepada ulama awal seperti Al-Ghazali sehinggalah kepada risalah Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Objektif kami di Sentris bukanlah untuk mengagungkan bapa kita Prof Kamal, seorang tokoh ulung luar biasa yang amat merendah diri, tetapi untuk menghidupkan risalahnya yang beliau sendiri hayati sebagai model yang sangat baik, pelajaran yang tidak ternilai untuk kita contohi dan teruskan. The objective of the 4 sessions is far from idolizing our father Prof Kamal, a towering figure who bent down low in humility, but to keep his message alive, which he lived to exemplify as excellent models, priceless lessons, and exceptional examples for us to emulate and to take on further. The previous session, focused on Prof Kamal as a Murabbi, as IIUM's 3rd rector, and as an academic figure. Today's session will be more intimate, Al-Marhum as a man and a father. Sesi-sesi yang terdahulu tertumpu kepada Al-Marhum sebagai Murabbi, Rektor ketiga UIAM dan seorang ahli akademik. Hari ini kita akan masuk ke ruang yang lebih intim, Prof Kamal sebagai seorang lelaki dan bapa. Bersama kita pada pagi 14 Syawal ini adalah Puan Mariam Salwana Kamal dan Encik Ahmad Amin Kamal, putri dan putra bungsu Al-Marhum. Sebagai mewakili ibunda mereka, Puan Sri Norma Muhammad Saleh. Gracing us this morning are Sister Salwana and Brother Amin, representing their mother, the doting wife of Al-Marhum, who cannot be with us. Sister Mariam Salwana, as the only daughter of Al-Marhum Emeritus Professor Kamal, could you please share with us your most significant life experiences with your father as a towering academic, the 3rd rector of IIUM, and as your father? Bolehkah Puan berkongsi pengalaman Puan yang paling signifikan bersama ayahanda Prof Kamal sebagai seorang alim, Rektor UIAM dan juga bapa?
Thank you, Dr. Nurjannah, and thank you, Ustaz Shahrul, for the dua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
My dear sisters and brothers of the Garden of Knowledge and Virtue, I must say that I am indeed privileged and deeply humbled to be here with all of you today. And really, there are no words that could best describe our family's gratitude to see all the sincere and kind efforts in remembering our dear beloved Al-Marhum Baba from the day he passed until this very day. And I am, like what Dr. Nurjannah rightly mentioned, I am also here on behalf of my mother, who is still observing her iddah. And I'm very sure many of you here are actually expecting to see my mother. Unfortunately, here I am instead. So now back to answering your questions, Dr. Nurjannah. I think I'll start off by describing my father as Baba. Right? So for everyone's information, I am the 3rd child of 5. I have 2 elder brothers and 2 younger ones. Brother Amin here is my youngest brother. But really, I personally don't think that Al-Marhum Baba was any different at home than how he was in general. But of course, to me, being the daughter of someone of his character, to me, he is the epitome of a God-fearing man, an epitome of a real gentleman, a loving father with full compassion and with a great humility. So when we were toddlers, we didn't realize all these things until we grew up, and we learned how distinguished our father was and how different he is. So we are thankful, and we are always blessed to know that our father is somewhat special, not to just us, but to the greater ummah. At home, he didn't really speak of his glory or highlighting his achievement at home. So he was rather shy or to even highlight what he has achieved to us, to the extent that many instances that we just learned just recently when we spoke and we heard from his colleagues and friends with the sharing after he passed. So to me personally, he was my greatest source of emotional support. He was ever so gentle person as always, but he was the pillar of strength to the whole family, really. So as a rector of IIUM, so this whole beautiful place, IIUM, it's actually my alma mater. So during my time here, my father, Al-Marhum Baba, was also the rector. While there were challenges being the daughter of the rector at that time, but his support towards me was unbelievable. And at any time at all, whenever I would like to see him in his office, even when he was in the midst of something, and I would have no issues waiting for him, but he would come to greet me with a big smile, and he would just embrace me. So all the years that I've spent in IIUM, I think never once he failed to make me feel like I was a priority for him, no matter what. So he was in the midst of something. When I was there, he would still come and greet me and still would address my issues. Like, for example, I would probably share with you. So when we came just now, my brother and I, we parked at somewhere. I think it's not a place where we're supposed to park. So when I was here, I had a car and I was always rushing to go to the lectures and all. So there's not enough parking. So I had to park at, illegal or, places where we weren't supposed to park. So normally my car would get clammed, right? So as I mentioned to you, Dr. Nurjannah, just now, I'm so used to my car being clammed here. And whenever I told my dad said, then go and pay and deal with it, So that was how he dealt as director and at the same time, my father when I was here in IIUM. And as you rightly mentioned to Dr. Nurjannah, when you described my father as a towering scholar, he, however, did not put the pressure on me to become somewhat like him. I think he would understand all his children, our capabilities and all, So what he told me that as a female, what is more important is to be educated, right? So I can be anything, but first be educated. If I become a mom, I should become an educated mom. If I'm going to be a wife, an educated wife or whatever, but education first. So that actually helped me throughout my whole journey in the university, because I didn't feel the pressure of becoming somewhat like him, And it is a concept that I love and I hold on until now. When I was in my teens, I also had several opportunities to travel with him around the world. Of course, I was just accompanying him for his work trips whenever my mother couldn't. Most of it was by invitation, and the traveling expenses were somehow sponsored by the respective organization. So most of the time, my father would, I guess like any other parents, would let me or their children to take up the business class seat, and he would be very happy just being at the economy class. Of course, his excuse was he's not so keen with being served too many times of food and all, and you know how he is very, he was very, very particular about his diet and all. But I guess that was just him being a humble person. And of course, we all know that material things is something that he wouldn't want to be associated with at all. I think he has no interest in anything of the worldly things. And I remember, if I could share with everyone, there was this one time many, many years ago that he was admitted to the hospital, and I was supposed to pick him up. He would actually call me and remind me to actually come and pick him up with the most modest car ever. You see, so he was to that extent, he did not want to be associated or to be seen indulging in worldly things. So we understood that about our father, and we are happy with that. Actually, we are happy with that. We find him different, but we would love to emulate that. My brothers always jokingly say that my father loved me more than all of them. You know, I do not know whether it's true or not, but to a certain extent, I guess because I'm the only girl, that he was slightly more gentle and softer dealing with me. However, at the same time, my brothers will also poke fun and jokingly say that throughout the years, my father's love towards me has somehow deteriorated, just to hurt my feelings, right? But of course, whenever we engaged with him on that silly matters, he would never, being a fair father that he was, right? He would never really agree or disagree with that idea. So, but I remember the last time when we, again, was in that conversation in the hospital when he was admitted. When I actually, made a sad face and said, "But you really don't love me that much anymore, And he actually said, and I still remember until now, everyone has a special place in his heart. So that was great to know, really. It was really great to know. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you very much, Sister Mariam Salwana. Very insightful sharing indeed. Kita beralih dari pandangan seorang puteri kepada pandangan seorang putera bongsu almarhum Professor Kamal. Brother Ahmad Amin Kamal, as the youngest of your siblings, you have been the spokesperson for the family since the last days of your father. Could you please share with us the most impactful experiences with your father as a prominent academic, a rector of IIUM, and as your baba? Sebagai anak bongsu, Saudara Amin telah kehadapan menjadi jurucakap keluarga sejak detik-detik akhir hayat almarhum. Boleh Amin berkongsi pengalaman yang paling berharga bersama ayahanda yang juga seorang akademik, seorang rektor yang tersohor dan juga baba.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat Hari Raya pada semua. I think my sister already said thanks on behalf of the family to everyone, especially the director of Centris, Dr. Amidon, Dr. Nurjana, and the rest of your team. And of course, IIUM for allowing this to happen, as well as the speakers from the previous sessions. Okay, and I apologize personally because I could not attend all of it. So I'm deeply touched that we have so many individuals willing to spend their time and effort to give more weightage and credence to this event. And I like what Dr. Najana mentioned just now, that this is not about idolizing Prof. That means Dr. Najana really understands Prof. Because he would appreciate that you would like to continue his teachings, but never ever to put him in a pedestal where he will shun away from such a position. So that's very much appreciated. I think Prof will really appreciate that. And I will refer, of course, we call my sister saying Baba. That's how we refer to him at home. But I will refer to him here as Prof, as how he'd like to be referred to all the time by everybody. Yeah, and Prof will be so taharu, even though he will be very shy that we are doing this, under his name, but he'll be very shy at the fact that we are doing this at the same time. But he'll be taharu at the same time. So I thank you again on behalf of the entire family, and I feel very, very inadequate. I have said this to Dr. Nujana personally. Even speaking on behalf, not even speaking about him or anything related to him, I feel very inadequate because, like you correctly said, a towering figure and so on. I feel very, very not enough in many, many aspects to speak on his behalf or about him. Okay, and anything that I say here is just I'm stating my own personal experience and facts. It doesn't mean that I'm all that. Now, with that being said, most impactful experience with Prof. I think my sister mentioned this the same. At home, we are able to observe what he practiced, and he practiced what he preached. Of course, he's a bit more relaxed. Yeah? At home, he's a bit more relaxed. He can be more of himself. He jokes a bit more. But the core principles, the core value is consistent at home and in the office. This one is absolutely true. Absolutely true. He's consistent. In Malay, I would say this, kita dapat lihat buah atau hasil ajaran-ajaran dan prinsip-prinsip Prof itu sendiri. Of course, he taught all the foundations, the Islamic foundations to the family. Everything, every aspect of Islam, he's imparted it to the family. But he likes to go to the very core of things. And he likes to explain to us why we do things. And he relate this to the heart of things. I think Dr. Nurjana, you'll be well aware of this, where he will always say the heart, the problem, the heart of the problem is the problem of the heart. And he always mentioned the importance of the qalb, because it forms the very foundation of everything that you do in the religion, in your deen. He always emphasizes so that you understand why you have to do certain things. And the reason is because if you understand, he wants us to achieve sincerity in doing it. Okay, so that's very important. From the way he teaches things is to reach that level of sincerity and purity of the qalb. So that's the way he approached things. So it's not merely do this, don't do this, this is haram, this halal. Okay, that's the foundation, but he explains why these things are very important. Yeah. And another thing that I think the important things that I learned from him when I look how he lives his life is his sole reliance on Allah. He is not a man that will go, I wish I could have a better word for it, but basically, go to another man to solve his problem. Of course, you need to go to people and find help and all, but at the very core, he understands that the real mover behind everything, even if the help that comes through his life is through another person, through something else, through nature, whatever, the real power behind it is Allah. So his sole reliance on Allah, I can see that, because like what my sister just mentioned, when you travel with him personally, we experience a lot of moments where there were difficulties. There were difficulties at home. There were difficulties during his travels. There were difficulties even with people. You'd be surprised. That somebody like him, you might think everyone would be fine with him. But I personally can tell you, there are evil people out there who would even undermine him. But I see how he handles it. He handles it with such grace. And for him, you cannot control another person's heart. Only Allah can control another person's heart. So his sole reliance is always with Allah. He's never trying to address it in a way that he feels that he has to go down to the level of kowtow to people. Yeah. And I see that. And I think that's a very important lesson for me in my student life, my professional life, and now a life as a father. I totally understand a lot of things beyond your control. A lot of things beyond your control. And in the end, you can only raise your hands to Allah. That's the only way. And very important takeaway from his teaching is that whatever you do, even if you are trying, if you follow the religion, for example, you want to go to paradise and so on, the deception of shaitan, he likes to mention that, the deception of shaitan, deception in general, or ghurur, the word that he likes to use, can be in many, many aspects that we are not aware. Even, for example, it's good that you like to give to others. Okay, of course, the benefits of it, for example, that you know that Allah is so great that He will multiply many folds returns to you. But if you keep that as your objective, meaning your objective is to receive manifold, that could be the form of deception, where that you do not reach the true sincerity, because you do it because Allah asks you to do it, because you love Allah. The benefits that you get is merely an outcome from doing what Allah likes. And you must reach that. It's similar with paradise. You do it because of how much you love Allah. Your sincerity will result in Allah rewarding you in paradise. But the objective is not even paradise. This is a very, I think that makes sense to me. That makes more sense, because if I'm just doing this for paradise, I think it's a bit selfish on me. So his relationship with Allah is in such a way I understand that the importance of that relationship. It's a deeper way of him trying to teach why we do things in a certain way in our religion. So I think those are some of the, I mean, honestly, there are many, many takeaways from the lifelong experience of living with him and seeing his professional life and personal life. But those are just the things at the top of my mind. Of course, there are many others, but there's no way in this short time frame. I think I'm exceeding my time over 10 minutes already.
Not really.
No? Okay.
You still have a few minutes.
Okay. All right. So then the last point I would say is exactly what my sister mentioned, which is he always say this because, and I go back to my earlier point, because you know that your stature compared to Allah is so great, it's infinitely so wide, there is no place for boasting. He always say that. And I think you can see how he handles his personal dealings and how he carries himself. He's so humble. It's not because he's trying to be humble, trying to show that he's humble. No, because he knows that the true adab with the Creator, which is his greatness is beyond our comprehension. You can only behave in such a way. You can only have your head down. You can only behave in that way. It's the only true way. If a person of high stature is in the room with us, we feel a certain reverence. We feel a certain fear, in fact. What more Allah? What more Allah? Right? So he shows this, how he carries himself is not because of whatever teachings is within him. Of course, that contributes to it because he knows, compared to the Creator, I have no place for riya, takabbur, or all these things. So he is exemplifying that in the way he does things in his life. And in the pepatah Melayu, lebih tunduk lah, ya. Seperti resam padi tu. So the more that you have this knowledge, the more that you will naturally be more humble. Yeah. So I think that is important, not because it's important to be humble. So like I said, Prof will always explain how humility is an outcome of realizing the truth. Yeah. It's not just you have to be humble. Why? You have to always ask why. Why do the prophets do this? Why are they like that? Because they know the true nature of your relationship with Allah, which you have no other way but to be humble. So I would say that's one of the important things I learned as well.
MashaAllah. Thank you very, very much, Brother Shahdi. Brother Amin. I read his name, Shahdi, here. I can relate to that because whenever I said, Prof, you're very humble. No, I'm not trying to be humble. Yeah. I'm not trying to be humble, but yes, the essence is we, in comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is nowhere. So there's no way for us to be ever even the slightest of being boastful.
Yes.
Thank you very much, brother. I mean, I think Brother Shahdi is not ready yet. So we'll go to Dr. Asma. Dr. Asma Al-Muhammadi is a daughter of Prof. Kamal's closest friend, Al-Marhum Sheikh Uthman Al-Muhammadi. Both were bosom buddies since the late professor was 10 years of age. Could you please share with us how your father's relationship with Prof. Kamal impacted yours with him? Dr. Asma adalah seorang putri Al-Marhum Sheikh Uthman Al-Muhammadi. Nombor yang keberapa ya, Doktor?
8.
Nombor 8. Ada berapa adik?
12.
12 adik?
12 adik-beradik.
12 adik-beradik. Masya Allah. From one single mother. Masya Allah. Dr. Asma adalah putri yang ke-8 daripada 12 adik-beradik Al-Marhum Sheikh Uthman Al-Muhammadi, seorang sahabat paling akrab Al-Marhum Prof. Kamal sejak beliau berumur 10 tahun. Boleh Doktor kongsikan bagaimana hubungan akrab ayah dengan Prof. Kamal memberi kesan ke atas hubungan Doktor dengan Prof?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jannah. My respected sisters, Mariam, Amin, Professor, doctors, my dear students, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, actually, this is an honor for me to be here, invited by the centuries to speak about a very special and distinguished figure, Professor Muhammad Kamal Hassan, rahimahullah. Probably I am not deserved to be here to speak about him, but out of my love and respect and relationship with him, then I will speak about him. I will try my best. It's true that the relationship between my father and Al-Marhum was very close, and actually a family relationship was going on since a long time ago. I still remember when I was in the kampong in Pasir Mas. We know the family. I know his parents, and I still remember that when my parents came back from Hajj in 1995, the first visitors to visit my parents, the parents of Professor Kamal Hassan. Yeah, I always love to speak to the mother, his mother, the way she talks, and always she said to me, if you want to make tea, then don't put sugar. That's what I still remember. So we know each other, and I also still remember in 80s and 90s, Prof. Kamal, when he came back to Kelantan, of course he will visit my family. And I heard many things about Prof. Kamal from my father and my mother, and I think that I believe he is the best and the most beloved friend of my father. And I always, love to talk to him, to be close to him. But of course, at that time, I didn't have chance. Until in late 90s, because at my home I have a lot of books. Then I read the books, and I was homeschooling. I didn't go to school. My parents didn't send me to school. Only father taught us at home. And I think that that's not the correct way. If you want to reach, the wider society, you want to do da'wah, then you have to go out. Then I told my father that I don't want to stay in the village. I want to go, to go out, to be like you and to be like your friends, Professor Kamal Hassan. And I have in my mind at that time that probably if I ask him to go to maybe he didn't allow me. If I want to go to UKM, he didn't allow me. Then I said, I want to go to IIUM because there, Professor Kamal Hassan, your friend is there. You love him, of course. Then I want to go there. Then he allowed me. I took my SPM in private school, Za'ba Pasir Mas, yes, in 1995. And Alhamdulillah, I have, berazam in my heart that when I masuk UIE, then I will not, saya tak akan keluar dari UIE. That was, my promise. Yes. Then when I enrolled in IIUM 1998 in Matriculation Center, Professor Kamal Hassan was director. Yes, of course, I don't have opportunity to be close to him, but always, admire through his thoughts. Always I will perhatikan betul-betul all his words, the wisdoms that he poured to the students. And Alhamdulillah, I graduated and I was accepted as a staff. I applied to be, academic or teacher at a matriculation center in 2004, 2005. But then I got opportunity again to be academic at IIUM. I would say that he what helped or assisted and give to people, helped people without people knowing it. Yes. What else that I wanted to say about him? Okay, what my parents always told about him, that he is a very respected person, humble, and somebody who obey the rules. I always keep that in mind when I have anything dealings with him. Then I always keep that in mind. Yes, that's most beloved person. I feel like he is my father, not somebody else. If I am with him in front of other people, of course, he is a professor, he is a teacher, respected scholar, rector, and so on. But if only me and him, then we will speak Kelantan. He will address me like me. Then very close, yes. I was very close to him, especially when I got opportunity to be under his supervision when I was doing my PhD. And my PhD also, he was the one who instructed me to do in that area, to study Sikhism, Sikh religion, Sikh community in Malaysia. To me, that's not my it's not my interest at all. Not interesting at all to study other religions, to study and to know other society. I am obsessed with, only our religion, Muslim, perception of others towards Muslim. But he changed that. He changed that in me, that we should care to all societies in Malaysia. We should care to others. This is the da'wah, the agenda for da'wah. You should know others. You should study all religions. You should know all people, and then you know how to address religion, how to talk to others. So he changed that, and he is a murabbi, educated me, educate. Okay. Mendidik kita tanpa kita sedari, not only verbally but with examples, good examples, humble and jujur and amanah, and yes, that's how it impacts my relationship with him, because I have, all the thoughts about him before I met him personally. And my mother told me, when Sister Farhana mentioned about Mariam Farhana. Mariam, yes.
Madam Salwana.
Salwana. Okay, Mariam. So better call Mariam. So that her car was clamped, and then Prof asked to go and pay.
Yeah.
I have a similar story actually. Yes, my mother and father also told us that when they studied at UM, then they used to have discussion until late night, discussion and thoughts and so on. Then my father's motorcycle was clamped there by the security guard. I didn't remember at the mosque or at the university. But then tomorrow in the morning, my father just wanted to borrow a chainsaw from Chinese uncle, just to cut the chain. But Prof Kamal said, "Hey man, you cannot do that. Shouldn't do that." He went to the security and paid the fine and so on. Then open. So that he was a man of, yes, integrity and obey the rules, follow the procedures and everything, which also has a very big, has influenced me. Also, these special features of him. I think that's all for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma. Brother Shahdi is not ready to be speaking with us. So in place of this, let me just change our topic a little bit. We talked about Prof. Kamal being very humble, being very sincere and obeying the rules and all that. But also my experience with him included him having a good sense of humor.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Could you please share with us any incidents that, with his healthy dose of sense of humor, Brother Amin?
Yeah, there's plenty. I'm going to have to pick one on top of my head. I'm going to say something different. I'm not sure whether Prof would, some people know about this. Some people may not. Because we know how he respects the rules, right? Respects the rules. And I hope he forgives me if I share this. There was one time, because this is, okay, as a disclaimer, this is a very pressing situation. It is a life and death situation. It's not a normal circumstances, okay? His uncle at that time, surprisingly, was also diagnosed similar to what he had, okay? And he had to get to the hospital, but it was already too late. I think he was flying in from, I forgot where, but he was flying in from somewhere, and he knew that he might not have much time to meet his uncle. But he needed to get, probably Dr. Okay, so some of you may have heard about it, okay? So for me, this is not really a joke, but it is, I am surprised that he's actually capable of this.
A quick-witted.
Quick-witted, and for me, it's funny. I did not expect that he is capable of this thing. It's funny. So he wanted to go to the hospital. He wanted to see. Okay, so it's a life and death situation. Okay, where in normal circumstances you would never do it, but this is his life and death with an uncle that he's very, very close with, very, very dear to Prof. So he was thinking, how do I get in? It's against the rules now. Okay. How do I get in? Macam mana nak masuk ni? Dah tutup. Tak kasi, guard tak kasi, and he's not the kind of person that cakap siapa diri dia. He will not. So he's really thinking how. Then it occurred to him. I think recently he was given an honorary position, a military position or something like this. He's an honorary colonel. Okay, so he had the formal pakaian seragam. He had. So he just decided, okay, I'm going to wear that. He pakai the full pakaian seragam, confidently just walked to the hospital, and the guard didn't say anything. So he didn't need to lie. He didn't need to go and say who he is. He just tried his luck and say, I'm going to just wear this thing and see if I can get it. Apparently they just, of course, when you walk to a hospital dengan confident, pakaian seragam military, you'll scare off some guards. So the guard's like, okay, I don't know who you are. I presume that's what the guard is thinking. Yeah, I'm not sure what he brought there, but it was full. He was full, and it was the real. Yeah, it was provided by the military.
You can check the uniform back there.
It's here. So that would be for me. And he got in.
Yeah.
He got in, and it was a very quick conversation, and he went back. So this is where a form of innovation on his part, where he's treading the line in a gray area because it was a pressing time. It was a pressing time. It was life and death. He just needed to go in. So for him, okay, I just needed to do this, but I'm not going to go there and lie about who he is. Okay, but at the same time, he took a gamble. He took a gamble to see whether will this work or not. Yeah. So again, this is just to show that in pressing times, calls for very creative, extraordinary circumstances, which only happens again only once in a while. We can think of this kind of situation, which shows that Prof has his own way of thinking, which is outside of the box, which I didn't think that he'd be able to come up with this kind of. I think personally, I think it's very funny. If you think about it, it's very funny.
He was narrating that to me, laughing.
For me, if I cuba bayangkan muka dia dengan lurusnya macam tu kan, it'd be very funny tau, because you can never think that a Prof is capable of that. So that's one example.
Sister Salwana?
Well, I guess what I can think of now is the irony of him being someone who obeys the rule, right? He obeys the rule, yes, but he also is a person. He was a person who always believed that we should always think outside the box. So at home, my mother has always been a great cook for the whole family, right? And we love her cookings. But my dad, of course, being very cheeky with my mother, and his dietary requirement, again, has been always unique and different from other people. So whenever my mom cooks something real dishes and something proper, he would actually assemble his plate different than other people. Like if you eat rice with curry, for example, he would eat the curry with sweet potato or fruits, and then we would comment like, well, how do you eat that kind of stuff, So he would quip that, when especially my mother, he would say like, why do you eat things like that? I mean, this is a proper way to eat. Then he would always quip that my mom is a person that is only thinking inside the box, and he is, on the other hand, someone who thinks outside the box. So that's for me is really the irony of him being someone who follows a rule, but at the same time, of course, there were instances that, again, during pressing time, when we had to, just have to break the traffic lights. We just had to. So I'm not going to reveal so much on that because it's not going to be so nice. But again, it's true. He is flexible. He's flexible. Pressing time requires creativity and all, right? So apart from that, I guess there were so many other instances. But with me, he was always very jovial, very relaxed. I guess, with me, with Amin, he would have deeper conversations. Yes, but with me, it's always light conversations. I think he sees me as someone to lighten up his mood or anything. My name, Mariam Salwana, actually means Mariam Salwana is actually penghibur kami. So I think that was how he saw me. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Asma, anything?
Yes, I'm not sure whether this is something funny or not. Talking about things funny from Prof. Al-Marhum Prof. To me, it's different. When we have a discussion on we're going to organize a conference in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Then he's from the Department of Usuluddin and Comparative Religion. And then he said that when he wanted to ask us to change the color of, the banner for the conference. And then people said, it's nice, Prof, why you want to change? He said, it's look like, to me, like Aicha.
What's that?
Aicha.
It's
What?
muddy water, right?
Yes, muddy water. So you should change it. And of course,
Oh, yeah.
yes, to us, that was very funny from Professor Kamal Hassan. And when I was under his supervision, I'm sorry, of course, my English was very bad and still bad. When he told me, people will ask you, who is your teacher? You should polish your English through readings and so on, because the students of you cannot student of Professor Kamal Hassan like this.
Oh, that's very
That's
true.
never.
Yes, cannot student Professor Kamal Hassan like this. Then I asked him, okay, Prof, I know my English is bad, but if let's say that we follow the scale of IELTS, from until what you would grade me 4, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6. Then he said 6. Then I tested my father. I went to my father. I said that if you grade me IELTS scheme, yes, from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then the father also said 6. Wow, similar, mashallah. So that's, yeah, the honesty, Alhamdulillah. That's all.
I
Thank
think
you.
we both have to agree with, especially the last point of him being very particular about
Language.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think my brother shared once during our time at the hospital. So it was just the two of us. So we were so desperate to wake our father up, right? So we purposely spoke in very, very broken English, just, to hoping that he couldn't just, stand and wake up and correct us. It's still funny for us because we do have like a family chat WhatsApp group and all, right? So even at our family chat group, we would make sure that we would write properly, because if not, he would correct us there. So and that's him being him. He would just want to correct us.
Right. Thank you so much for the insights. All right, now to a bit more serious tone. Ramadan telah datang dan telah pergi, bersamanya juga Idul Fitri 1444 Hijrah. Tentunya bagi keluarga almarhum, Ramadan dan hari raya kali ini berlainan sekali dari yang sebelumnya, terutamanya setelah persaraan almarhum, juga semasa era COVID-19 di mana beliau berada di rumah sepenuh masa. Ramadan came and left together with Idul Fitri. Surely for almarhum's family, this Ramadan and Eid were different from the past ones, especially after Prof. Kamal's retirement and at the height of COVID-19, where he would be fully at home. Brother Amin, could you please share with us how Ramadan and Eid were with your Baba around and how different were they after his passing? Boleh Amin ceritakan bagaimana suasana Ramadan dan Eid bersama Baba dan setelah pemergian beliau?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nurjana. But before that, I want to go back with what Tata Asma said. I think she did mention dia rasa macam tak berhak duduk di sini bersama. Tapi I want to let you know, just like how Dr. Asma feels that it's like your father as well. Actually, Mahum Prof did say that you are just like his daughter as well.
Yes.
Okay, just like daughter. And there are others that, like what my sister mentioned, that has a special place in his heart. Definitely, Dr. Asma is one of those. So definitely, as far as family members sitting here, I can speak on behalf of Prof. For surely you are well placed to be here. If anything, in fact, I would personally say this: as far as the people who are actually true carriers of his teachings, probably you are more, and Dr. Najana are more than even me and my sister probably. Yeah, the true recipients and the true carriers of his legacy, probably both of you are more. So I want to make sure everybody understand that you want to approach people, and to the listeners at home, you want to approach people who are the true legacy carriers of Al-Marhum Prof. You speak to these individuals, the previous speakers, for example. They are the right people who really carry on his teaching. Yeah, so we are here giving the personal part, but I believe there are more people out there who are true students of Prof that you should really approach. Yeah. So again, I want to try to balance. This is a very difficult session actually for me. Yeah, very difficult session because I want to make sure it's lively at the same time. It's a very difficult emotion for me. Being even in this library, it brings a lot of memories. I remember being here during my school days in this library, just observing Prof here, following him in his restaurant and all, where he likes to eat. He likes to eat ikan bakar down there and some nearby restaurants in Gombak. So it's not easy being here actually for me, but it is still an honor. Thank you for having me here. And secondly, again, what my sister mentioned, we have a WhatsApp group. So this is coming back to the question by Dr. Nurjannah. So kita ada satu family WhatsApp. I think any family out there will have it lah. So the big difference is that there's no longer updates. So Prof will always give updates. Prof will always share the things that he's been reading, the things that he learned, the videos that he watched, the stories that he's read, the news that he's seen. He will always share, and he will always give his thoughts. So now it's silent. Now the WhatsApp, the family WhatsApp is silent. Sunyi kerana sudah tiada peringatan-peringatan ni daripada ayah anda. Macam itulah. So that is very different. So usually the gear, he always like to say this, your gear, the spiritual gear goes to 5th gear, or whatever. Nowadays cars can go 7, 8 gear. Go to the 5th gear, the highest gear during Ramadan. Yeah. So similarly, this is reflected in Prof's frequency of advice as well. You can see a lot more frequent and intensity and the things that he shares. So that is a huge contrast where this time around silent. So that's a big gaping hole. Yeah, it's a big gaping hole in the family for Ramadan, especially where we had previously a leader to lead in everything, especially the spiritual part of Ramadan. So what the family did was actually Prof during I think up to 2015 probably, the 2010 to 2015, every weekend he would call the family, dia panggil family to datang rumah, and he will have this session. He will have a session at home to teach foundational things, basic things, but important things. And somebody in the family actually shared in the WhatsApp group, ada berkongsi satu whiteboard. Prof dekat rumah ada whiteboard. Just like the teacher that he writes all these things. And it's good to see one of those Ramadan, I think it's 2013, where Prof just summarized the reminders of Allah in Quran, where these are the things that you should do in the last 10 days of Ramadan. Of course, there are many other things Allah asks you to do, but he's just summarizing for people like us. We're not going too many things on the beyond the obligatory stuff, but just some of the things. So first, he mentioned in his whiteboard, if I can still recall, first is read Quran every day. Read Quran, even if it's a little, you have to not, don't forget it. Every day. Make tawbah every night. Yeah, dua and special prayers for tawbah. Make dua for everyone. Make dua for everyone. And actually, with Prof, actually when I was small, one thing about Prof, if you've prayed with him, his dua can be very long. It's very, very long. Masa kecil-kecil saya tak faham. Masa kecil-kecil apa panjang doa. Masa kecil-kecil dia tak faham lagi kan. You're not mature yet. You don't know what. You don't understand his heart yet. Then after a while you understand why his dua can be very long, panjang. Because he has such concern, genuine concern for everybody. Dua everybody. Everybody in his dua, he will try not to miss anybody. So you can see that he when he said dua for everyone, he does it. Himself, family members, brothers and sisters around the world, everybody, he will make dua for parents, everybody, you name it. And then you ask from Allah forgiveness every night. That's one of the things. You must ask Allah for forgiveness every night. Even if you're not sure what you're asking forgiveness for, like I said, the fact that you are here in this world, compared to how much Allah is most deserving of praise and worship, you are short of that. You must know that you are short. You are short of how much you could ever praise Allah and worship Him. And just on that basis, even if you're not sure what you are sinful for, you seek forgiveness because you are not adequate in the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, the last point is don't be deceived by shaitan. And this is important. It's interesting to me in Ramadan that Prof put this because kita ada, of course, this is true. There's a literal and non-literal meaning when people say shaitan terikat, right? So I did ask, okay, so don't be deceived by shaitan in the last 10 days, one of the main things. But isn't shaitan restricted? So there's a literal meaning of that, and there's a non-literal meaning. And one of the non-literal or deeper way to understand it, in addition to the literal understanding, is that if you actually follow what is recommended to do in your religion, of course, more especially during Ramadan, where you control the routes where shaitan can get to you. For example, you control your eyes, you lower your gaze, you control your ears, and you don't listen to gossips. You control your heart, and you, of course, food, but that's the lowest outcome. But it also plays a vital role in your nafs. So if you control all the routes where shaitan uses to get to you, where does shaitan has leverage over you? It doesn't have leverage over you. He can only give suggestion, but if the routes for the suggestive evil suggestions are closed, where is the leverage of shaitan? And so in that sense, he is restricted. So Ramadan is a template for other months, how other months should be. So that's like I said, Prophet always gives this kind of understanding that's how actually shaitan doesn't have control over you, because of what you do, what God has told you, what God has recommended. These are the good things for you, that you will be able to block the insinuations of shaitan. So those are the teachings in the whiteboard during Ramadan, I think 2013. And like I said, Eid is that's Ramadan. Eid is very difficult, especially during takbir. You can imagine, usually Al-Marhum Prof will be the one leading the takbir. Yeah, this one, who would lead? Who would suddenly in the family that night? I can remember the Eid, the Eve of Ramadan, right? The Eve of Shawwal. The Eve of Shawwal. So who would lead? So again, some family members really broke down at that time, even though it was supposed to be a happy time. But understandably, it's not easy to go through that. So it's a very difficult entry into Shawwal when you no longer have that box. It's a void. So, and the rest of the family members tried to hold it in. As I mentioned, our beloved mother, she handles things differently. She's a very strong lady, and she doesn't show it in front of us. She might do it on her own time. Like even my father, Al-Marhum Prof, said that your mother will shed her tears during her tahajjud with Allah. If in front of children, she will be the strong lady that she is. Because she always knows that she has to be strong for Al-Marhum Prof, and she always has to be strong for the children. Of course, we would like it if she is more open and talk to us about this, right? But that's not who she is. And I hope it doesn't burden her inside, that she should be able to talk and just let it out. But that's not how it is. So it said Ramadan is difficult. Eid is difficult. But like I said, Allah is very great, and we saw a lot of hikmah behind everything that Allah does. So yeah, that would be on my part.
Thank you. Thank you very much, brother. I mean, really, Al-Marhum would have been very proud of you. Sister Salwana, as the only daughter, I imagine that you already, we have mentioned this, have a very special bond with your mama and baba. How were Ramadans and Eids with both of your parents over the years when Baba was around, and how has his passing affected your family? Sudilah sekiranya Puan dapat berkongsi pengalaman bersama keluarga di bulan Ramadan dan berhari raya bersama kedua-dua Baba dan Mama selama ini, dan bagaimana impak pemergian Baba terhadap keluarga terutamanya pada Ramadan dan Eid yang lalu.
Thank you, Dr. Nurjannah. I think Ramadan and Eid during when my dad was around, I think my brother Amin has actually summarized the whole thing. So I think always, every year, without fail, he would remind all of us that Ramadan would be the model month where the remembrance of Allah should be strengthened, and the focus should be focus on ibadah, should be on your full gear, and increase your good deeds as much as possible to obtain Allah's pleasure and favor. So that has always been at home, how Ramadan has been. He looked forward for Ramadan, and during the last 10 days, he would do all out full gear. And we, like what Amin mentioned just now, during Ramadan would be the time where we would receive continuous reminders on our WhatsApp group. Apart from when we meet, we'll have our usrah more often than other months in the year. So he would devote his time for Allah, and he would want all of us to do the same thing. Of course, Amin mentioned the gaping hole now that my father has passed. However, I must, maybe I can take this opportunity to thank my brother Amin, because honestly, I think the gaping hole has somehow been filled by brother Amin himself. Of course, he would say his
It's too far.
Of course. But honestly, I feel that at least we have someone with the closest resemblance of my father who would fill up that gaping hole, really. And while we miss the beautiful dua, my father's recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha during prayers was always very beautiful, you know. I miss all those things, especially when we prayed together. And I miss all those things. However, really, I was glad. And I'm very sure my mother, my other siblings, we are all so glad that Amin was there, you know, and it helped us to go through with it, you know, and because we were all navigating this new reality without my dad, you know. So we weren't sure of how Ramadan and Eid would be. So how without Baba things would be definitely different, because the gaping hole is huge. But Alhamdulillah, Brother Amin here played his role very well. I'm sure my mother is very pleased with Amin, he mentioned just now during the eve of Eid, right? We broke down. It was a silent moment because who would let takbir this time around, right? And Alhamdulillah, Brother Amin took the lead, but of course it was bittersweet. It was bittersweet. It was a mixed feelings, you know. My mother was very strong. He didn't, in front of many people, he won't share, you know, so much of his emotion. My mother and my father, they are two different creatures. My father is was a person full of emotions and all. My mother would keep everything aside. But I guess that's what makes them very compatible. But I saw my mother was also quiet at that time. Few of us broke down. It was, but Alhamdulillah, I myself couldn't, I was holding myself. But we went through it, Alhamdulillah. We celebrated Eid happily. Of course, there was that moment, but it was pretty emotional for everyone. And I'm sure my mother was always been taking care of my dad's dietary requirements. So I'm sure she missed preparing my dad's special sahur and special iftar. And I probably would share this. My second youngest brother, Ahmad Taufiq, he followed exactly what brother Amin mentioned just now about those things that my dad wrote on the whiteboard. Yep. So he did exactly that. Yep. And what he shared with us was that was the best feeling ever, that he felt like my father was still around. Just follow what Baba wants you to do during Ramadan. You feel so happy and you feel like as if he's there with you. And that was what my brother felt. So Alhamdulillah, I was super happy to see, my all my brothers, sharing all the good things about my dad. And my mom, well, she didn't really share with many people, but with me, she does, especially when it's just the two of us. I could talk with my mother for hours, really. And she would express that he missed my dad a lot, but she take comfort in realizing that has actually lived his life full of purpose, right? And that didn't leave her with problems at all. Everything was so smooth, So Eid and Ramadan this year was challenging, but Alhamdulillah, we really do support each other. We will check on each other often. We spend more time with Mama. If we have time, we will go back to our parents' house. We would chat with Mom. We would stay up all night to just talk about Baba again. So that keeps us together, and So that's all I would like to share. So it would be difficult for the future to come, but I guess Alhamdulillah, so far we are managing it pretty well.
Alhamdulillah. Dr. Asma. Thank you very much, Sister Salwana. Dr. Asma, apakah pesanan atau kata-kata almarhum ayah tentang Prof Kamal yang kekal dalam ingatan doktor sehingga kini? What were the words of your late father about Prof Kamal that remain in your mind to this day?
Okay, thank you. Actually, of course, lots of words and thoughts of my father about Prof Kamal, but what remain in my mind until now, and maybe not fully understood what he said. He told me that was in between 2003, 2004, while I was with him at Bukit Damansara. Yeah, he told me that Prof Kamal Hassan is a incomparable figure. Seorang yang tidak ada bandingan, seseorang yang mungkin tak terdapat sama ada di negara Islam lain ataupun even in the Western world. Tidak ada bandingan. Until now, I'm thinking, maybe I didn't understand exactly what he means, but he seemed really mean it when he said that. Incomparable figure, very special and dear to his heart. And other than that, of course, childhood memory between him and Al-Marhum. They play together, naughty each other. Jacketing, yes. Playing football. And my summary about what my father said, that Prof. Kamal is a gift to the Muslim and to the country. Yes, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma. I can testify to that. MashaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place him amongst the people who are closest to him. Inshallah. Ameen. All right. This would be our last round before the wrap up. Dr. Asma, what were Prof. Kamal's words that remain in your heart and that you would remember and hold on to? Apakah pesanan Al-Marhum Prof. Kamal yang kekal dalam ingatan dan dipegang sehingga kini dan selamanya?
I think the holding to the Islamic values. Yeah, Islamic values. And when I, of course, applied to be a teacher at Matriculation Center, and I remember during the interview, of course, he asked me a few questions, and I think one of the questions that he reminded that become a teacher, you should love the students. You cannot be tak boleh garang. You should baik lembut dengan students. Love every student. And his what I think has a big impact on me is especially on the how I can say the importance of keeping harmonious inter-religious relationship. You as a teacher, you should play a role to create this awareness of harmonious inter-religious relationship between every community in Malaysia, because Malaysia is, yes, a majority Muslim community with multi-racial society. So that's important to him, seems very important to him, to keep the country in a peaceful and harmony. To me, that was not my kesedaran at that time, not important, not my focus, but he changed that in me. Yeah, so now I saw that this is very important, and the importance of work culture. Dalam kerja seharian, attitude, Muslim attitude, cleanliness. I think cleanliness is always, reminding me that the importance of cleanliness. He don't like, sesuatu yang tak bersih, yang tiada attitude, yang kelihatan tidak civilized. He liked that very much. So that's what I keep and what I remember. What's changed my thinking.
All right, thank you.
Reward him.
Ameen. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma. Puan Salwana, what were Baba's words that remain in your heart and that you will remember and hold on to for life? Apakah pesanan Almarhum Baba yang kekal dalam ingatan dan akan dipegang sepanjang hayat?
Thank you, Dr. Nurjana. If I want to just go with words, I think there were so many, but I do find myself clinging on to the smallest reminders of him, like his last wave to all of us at my house. He was at that time he knew about him going for the surgery and all. So he was so eager to inform all the family members about his procedure and what to expect. So it was done at my house. It was just several weeks before he was admitted to the hospital. And I remember very vividly, and I do have a recording of him informing all of us, the family members, about the procedures that he was about to go. And I kept that video because the message in it was calming to me. Because if I can remember vividly, but if you look at him talking, so he was basically so eager to continue living, going through the procedure, continue living and continue whatever that he's doing for the world, for the ummah. But also at the same time, he was 100% ready to meet his creator. So he was 100% ready to continue living, and he was 100% ready to leave. So that was why Mama had an easy time when, to handle everything when he passed. So that video for me, when I felt very, very sad, or when I miss him so much, when I remember what he said, and when I look at the video, it gave me strength to know that this is what he wanted. If he, by the grace of Allah, lives, alhamdulillah, he will continue doing what he wants to do. But if he, by the grace of Allah, will be, taken, and he is ever ready, so I don't know, for me, that was super special. I personally, I felt that at that time when he was expressing it, because like my mother said, he was preparing, as if he was preparing to check out from the house, right? So for me, that was very, very sacred. And of course, really, I would like to, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity that Allah gave me to spend time to take care of him when he was in the hospital and he was sick. So I would do it again and again and again and again and again. And mashallah, I think that was the greatest and the sacred gift that Allah has given my brothers and I, that we would cherished, and I felt honestly I would want more time with him. But alhamdulillah, even he was there for close approximately about 40 days, but we were there with him all the way. And one thing that I remember about my dad was birthdays. He don't celebrate birthdays and all, but he took the opportunity, because we do. For us, it's like an excuse to get together with the family. So he was all right with that idea and all. But he would, I think I remember during my 40th birthday, so he wrote me a very short but beautiful message. But the gist of it was about reminding me that birthdays is actually a reminder that we are getting closer and closer and closer to our Creator, right? And how are we prepared to one day meet our Creator? So that would be one of those that I cherish, that I would remember about my father.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Brother Amin, your Baba breathed his last in your arms. What were Al-Marhum's words or message that would remain in your heart and that you would hold very dearly with, remember, and will remember for years, forever? Baba menghembuskan nafasnya yang terakhir di dalam dakapan Amin. Apakah pesanan Al-Marhum yang amat memberi kesan serta kekal dalam ingatan dan akan dipegang di sepanjang hayat?
Thank you, Dr. Jannah. Very difficult question. And there are many words I shared with him, many conversations I had with him, deep conversation, light conversation, and so on. So there's no way I can pick out just a few words. And usually these are situational, meaning at that particular situation, he will impart certain wisdom. Whenever we are going through a particular situation, he gives me a certain understanding, knowledge, and wisdom on that particular situation. So those are very situation specific, but there are general things that would apply in all situations. And he will always say to me, and he likes to refer back to Prophet ﷺ's last sermon, for example, his last sermon, which is hold on to the Quran and Sunnah. Hold on to it. Hold on like your life depends on it. And you cannot go wrong. And he kept saying to me, because towards the end of days especially, is what the Prophet said, ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, it's like holding on to iman, it's like holding on to bara, right? Seperti memegang bara. It's how difficult it is, how the deception is so great. At every second, you will be tested, you will be deceived. And your only shield will be your connection to Allah, and that is through your obligatory ibadah. And of course, don't forget the Quran and Sunnah. That is your route going back to Allah. And he always say the importance of when you are doing this, the importance to establish taqwa. He like to say this taqwa, which is not only the constant remembrance, not only the consciousness of Allah. Again, when I'm speaking like this, I always feel like I'm an imposter. I feel like a hypocrite. I'm merely conveying what he taught me. Doesn't mean that I'm able to do all these things. I am merely conveying. So I want everybody who's listening to me understand this perfectly. I'm not speaking from a higher pedestal. I am conveying what he taught me so that it benefits other people as well. Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm able to do it. Yeah, I'm very far from being able to follow all his teachings. Very far. But nevertheless, this is the fact. These are the facts of what he taught me. Yeah. So I just want to make sure everybody understand that. So the concept of taqwa to him was very important because it's a constant linkage with Allah. And like I mentioned just now, there's no other way that you can live your life in this world if you understand even a little bit of how great Allah is. A state of taqwa is your natural state. It should be your natural state. And of course, people will say the benefits of taqwa, that Allah will open the doors for you, like I said, but don't be deceived that you are doing it for the benefits. Do it because you understand who you are with Allah, and the benefits will happen as a result of that, because God will love you and everything God will give, but it shouldn't be your objective. And of course, again, trust in Allah. I did say this in one of your earlier questions. He has supreme trust in Allah. His trust in Allah is, to me, I saw it's unbreakable. It has been tested many times. It's been tested, but it's unbreakable. So far, alhamdulillah, I saw that his faith, it was Allah, of course, everything is from Allah. Allah has given him such iman that his trust in Allah was never broken. Definitely was tested. And another thing that I always take away is that the heart of the problem is usually the problem of the heart. He likes to say this. Yes. He's always, there must be a problem of the heart of that particular situation or in your heart. The root of the problem is going to be something there. Don't try to look elsewhere externally. There must be something wrong with you. And the solutions are all there as taught by the Prophet, by Allah in the Quran, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, I always remember he said, read the Quran every day, because he knows he will not be around sooner or later. He said this. Where will you go, right? Where will your moral compass be? It's Quran and Sunnah. No, you cannot go wrong with that. That's also what Prophet ﷺ said in his last sermon. And of course, he kept reminding the three things that will benefit you after death. And we know this, right? So he kept reminding what Prophet ﷺ taught, the three things that will benefit a person after death. Remember this, the beneficial knowledge, dua from your children, and your sadaqah jariyah, and all these things. So remember that. That's your investment in the hereafter. So those are the kinds of things that would be applicable in all situations. Of course, there are specific situations that has situation-specific wisdom at that time. But these are the general things that I guess I will hold on to. Again, talking about specific teachings, specific takeaways, we will need 4 or 5 hour lecture, and there's no way we can do that now.
Right. Thank you so much. Your parting word, Dr. Asma. Last word.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him the best. Allahumma ghfir lahu warhamhu wa'afihi wa'afu anhu wahsin ilayhi waj'al jannata mathwah. And secondly, this is not, of course, not what Prof. Kamal asked, but to me, rahimahullah, Prof. Kamal deserves more, yeah, in terms of recognition from the university and from the government of Malaysia, because of his Islamic agenda, Islamic spirits in education and so on, and also Islamic awareness to the Malay community since 1970s. I think that's important. And also his contribution to International Islamic University in Malaysia. What I want to say, I should look here. He is a gift, yeah. He is a gift to the country and to the Muslim Ummah, and actually we follow the seerah or the biography, the life of people like him, Muslim scholars, great figures of Islam. Actually is a blessing, you know, tanzilur rahmah. Allah Subhanahu wa taala akan menurunkan rahmah kepada kita apabila kita menelusuri sejarah hidup orang-orang great minds, great souls seperti ini. I used to have conversation with him about the book by Abul Hassan An-Nadwi, Saviors of Islamic Spirits. Then I told him that I love this book. He said, "Oh, I love this book too," because when we read the great figures in Islam, which is in that book, macam kita rasa kita boleh kuat semula, bernafas semula, bangkit semula, yeah. So I think dengan cara kita mengikuti sejarah hidup mereka, dan of course our beloved professor actually memberi inspirasi dan juga panduan kepada pelajar, kepada masyarakat tentang bagaimana untuk kita mendirikan Islam di dalam kehidupan, di dalam masyarakat dan di dalam negara. Sama ada kita sebagai pelajar, orang kebanyakan, da'i ataupun educators, guru dan sebagainya. Ini adalah sesuatu yang perlu kerana kita perlu sentiasa diperingati, ya. Because dalam Al-Quran Allah says, "Fadhakkir fa inna dzikra tanfa'ul mu'minin." Similarly, like we read the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will be enlightened by the seerah. Yes. And this blessed soul, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala also loved them. By looking into their life, we will be guided. Yeah. May Allah grant him and all Muslim scholars maghfirah and rahmah.
Amin ya rabbal
alamin. Amin. Sister Salvana.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. It has been, I think, approximately 2 months plus since my father departed. So despite the pain and sorrow that my family and I carry within us, we know that as a great scholar, my father's legacy lives on, especially to the greater ummah. So that gives us comfort. You know, and really personally to me, again, he never really put the pressure of me of becoming someone like him, but really what he has done to his life, especially when it comes to humility. I think that is something that all of us could try to do or emulate. It is something that is doable. because other things you need knowledge and all, but humility, again, it comes from your heart. So heart is something that you can try to purify and control. So personally, for me, that would be what I would like to do, apart from other teachings that he has taught us. But his humility to me was extraordinary, super extraordinary. And I would want that also in me, at least 1% of it. I would like to experience it, because it was real. When we were with him in the hospital, we saw all the signs of a true alim, and even till the end of his life. And I'm sure, of course, he's a great person, but I'm sure there's many other things as well that we don't know. I hold his phone, and I read through a few messages and all, and I found many things that he has done quietly
To help others.
To help others, really. That he have never mentioned all these things to anyone. So that kind of humility, there are things that it's easier said than done. But his humility, I know he's my father. I'm not idolizing him, but I believe that he is true. And I would like to urge all of us, especially I'm telling myself, really, that humility is really something that very special to me. And I really hope, because I saw how he lived this world, and I would really pray that by the grace of Allah and by Allah's mercy, Allah would also allow me to leave this world like how
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And last but really not least, I would like to thank everyone here, especially Dr. Nur Jannah. You have been very instrumental, and to my dad, really. He kept talking about you, and you and Dr. Asma are just like family members to us. And I don't think our family could live without all of you, really, because I think you hold many things that we all do not know as family members. So I would like to thank Dr. Asma and Dr. Nur Jannah really for being the person you were to my father. And please don't stop praying for him. And I pray that all of us, inshallah, one day with the mercy of Allah, will be reunited in Jannah.
Ameen.
Inshallah.
Ameen. Thank you very much, Sister Salwana. Brother Amin.
Yeah, I think my sister wrapped it up beautifully. But I will start with the thanks as well. As far as parting words go, I think it's only right that I say very, very sincere from the deepest part of my heart and our family's heart for doing this, to you, centrists as a whole, IIUM, past speakers that's joined this session. Thank you all for continuing his legacy. And I want everybody here, and for those listening at home or wherever you are, that please, when it comes to continuation of Al-Marhum Prof. Kamal's legacy, these are the people around here are the people that you should talk to. As far as the very specific branches of knowledge with various different groups and different people, please approach these experts who have spent their lives, professional lives, personal lives, closely with Al-Marhum Prof. So do talk to them, and there's a lot of knowledge that these experts can also share. And inshallah, that's how we keep Al-Marhum Prof's knowledge and legacy alive. So thank you. You're all the people that should be looked up to. Thank you very much. And I did mention this before in an earlier session. I think it was a joint session when it was closer to the date when Prof passed away. I think it was a joint event between Centris, and I think it was ISTAC as well, and probably some other organizations. But I did mention this. One parting ways that I can mention for those who feel deeply regarding the loss of Al-Marhum Prof is that all the qualities that we miss in him, whatever qualities, a lot of people will say his wisdom, right? Wisdom, a lot of knowledge, the source of a moral compass. A lot of people say this as well. His gentleness. My sister repeats his humility. How nice it is to just converse with him. The warmth that you feel when you talk. A lot of people say this. So those qualities, you have to remember the true source of those qualities. And everything good comes from Allah. So every good quality, all the good qualities of Prof's character, all of the good qualities come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What that means is that the true source of knowledge, the true source of wisdom, the true source of utmost love and affection that Prof showed us is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that remains accessible. Prof will go, I will go, every one of us will go, but what will never go is Allah. He will remain until the end. And those things that we want to access, knowledge, wisdom, everything will remain accessible through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He will provide in ways that we cannot foresee. Okay. So that is one of the, I think, of course, I hope it's not only a coping mechanism on my part. I hope that it's also an understanding that I internalize. And I understand. And the understanding is sincere. That's what I hope. But I don't deny it's one of the ways I try to cope with the situation, because it is a big gaping hole, like my sister mentioned. Who do I talk to? Where do I go? And then I remember Prof said, he said, Allah will always be there. Yeah, it is you who forget. You forget Him. You go away, and despite our sins and how we forget, how much we don't give enough to Allah, He's still there. So isn't that the greatest warmth? Isn't that the greatest? I don't know. It's the greatest love. That's why Allah's attributes of rahmah encompass everything, right? Encompass everything. So that's one of the important takeaway that I would say. And then, as following how Prof conducts his life as well, is to make dua for everyone, forgive everyone, and make dua for everyone. He is selfless in that. Okay, make sure that we make dua for everybody, especially nowadays in the very difficult times, towards the end of times here, our brothers and sisters around the world. So many people are struggling, hardship, persecution around the world. Islam is facing a very tough time, a dangerous threat from many angles. And I think the people here are the true people who carry on this fight in your own respective ways. So we make dua for everybody that Allah helps all our struggles. And what's important is the struggle. And that is the measure of success, is whether we get closer to Allah. And another parting ways, again, these are just things I learned. Yeah. And it's a reminder to myself, and it's very hard to do this, but it's a constant reminder to myself. The relationship with human and relationship to Allah, I will say there are three key things for the relationship with human, hablu minan nas, and the three key things that you can hold on to. These are more like rule of thumbs or easy takeaways for us to help us remember. And I believe Prof is a living example of these three principles, although he didn't say it to me. It comes from a Sufi saying, okay, an anonymous Sufi saying, but it is a good saying. It makes sense. When it comes to your relationship with human, and this will benefit you, inshallah, everybody is doing this, is that when it comes to relationship with human, anything that you say or do, keep the three gates before you do. And the three gates is whether it's true, meaning the truth. Second is it necessary? And third, is it nice, or is it effective, or is it done in the right way that makes that something true and necessary? You better be sure that it is done effectively. It almost becomes obligatory that you make sure that you say it in a nice way or an effective way. If you hold on to these things, you take care of your relationship with humans, inshallah, almost perfectly. It has to be true, necessary, nice. It is as a Sufi, not from my saying. But I think if you think about Prof, I think he's a living example of this. He says things that are true. He says only what is necessary, and he's nice about it. And nice doesn't mean just blindly nice. It means how do you make sure you convey it in an effective way? So this is in terms of what you say and in terms of your action. But for you to be able to do this, you make sure you have to have three things that you can make sure that you remember. Your relationship with Allah is taken care of. Mm-hmm. What are the three things? I think that the three levelers of ego and pride and the destroyer of your nafs, especially the lower nafs, would be three things: the certainty of death, the uncertainty of when it will happen, and the certainty that you will be accountable. You will be accounted for it. And I think this constant remembrance will help the three main points with your relationship with human beings as well. So it goes hand in hand. So I would say keep this three, because there's so many things to remember. So let's try to remember these three things, which inshallah will help all of us to keep in the right path. You know, if there is no accountability, there's a lot of reasons why people do things in this world right now, because they don't think they think that all the life is here, is all there is. And if you hold on to this, you will differentiate yourself with the rest of the things that's happening in the world. You will differentiate yourself, and it will be hard. It will be hard, but there's no other way. It's the only way, I think. So I would say I'm trying to summarize so many of Prof's teachings, because when you say parting words, it's very, very difficult to part. There's so many things that I wish I could say. So that would be it, Dr. Nurjannah. Thank you very much for all what you're doing.
Thank you very, very much, all of you. Amin, Salwana, and Dr. Asma, even Shahdi. Thank you very, very much for all of your sharings. These are very valuable anecdotes that we can take lessons from. We end our program because it's almost 12:30 and we all have to go for Jumu'ah prayer. And then once again, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for spending time with us, and thank you for your valuable sharing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you amply, inshallah. Ameen. We end now with tasbih kafara in surah Wal-Asr. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal-'asri innal insana lafi khusrin illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Jumu'ah Mubarak.
Thank you so much.